I've lived in northern Montana all my life and thought I understood winter, its hush, its cruelty, the way it can make even familiar places feel uninhabited. But nothing prepared me for what happened during the blizzard of 2021. I was house sitting for a friend who lived nearly an hour from town, tucked deep in the pines where the snow piles high enough to swallow fences and silence stretches for miles. On the second day, the storm hit harder than expected, knocking out the power and plunging the entire property into darkness, so absolute I could hear my own heartbeat. I lit a few lanterns and settled by the fireplace, telling myself I'd sleep early. But around midnight, the firewood ran low, so I stepped out to grab more. As soon as I opened the back door, a wall of cold hit me so sharp it felt like teeth. I trudged through the snow toward the shed, but then I noticed something wrong. The area around the shed was untouched, smooth and glassy under the moonlight, except for a single set of footprints. They were huge, easily twice the size of mine, and spaced too far apart for any person to make. At first I assumed it had to be an elk or moose until I crouched closer and saw the shape clearly outlined in the powder. 5 long, deep-set toes pressed perfectly into the snow, like whatever made them had paused long enough to push its full weight down. I grabbed the wood and hurried back inside, forcing myself not to look behind me. As the night wore on, the temperature dropped even lower, and the walls of the cabin began to pop and creak with the pressure of the cold settling in. I had just started drifting off on the sofa when I heard it, a sharp creak from the front porch, like a heavy weight settling onto the boards. Then another, and another, slow, deliberate steps that weren't muffled by the storm at all. I sat up, barely breathing, as the footsteps stopped directly in front of the door. For a few seconds, nothing happened. Then the doorknob twitched, just once at first, then slowly turned, as if someone outside was testing how quietly they could move it. I froze, heart pounding loud enough I swore whatever was outside could hear it. The knob rotated further, the metal clicking softly in the silent house, and then, mercifully, it stopped and turned back as if the thing had realized it was locked. But it didn't leave. For nearly an hour I sat there, listening to the porch groan under its shifting weight, and every so often, the faintest sound of breathing pressed through the doorframe, a long, strained inhale followed by a slow exhale, like icy air squeezing through a rattling chest. By the time morning came, the storm had quieted, and the first weak sunlight seeped through the windows. I opened the door with shaking hands, half expecting nothing, half terrified I would see something waiting. The porch was covered in fresh snow, except for 2 enormous impressions right in front of the door, human-shaped but impossibly large, and a long, dragging trail leading back into the forest between the trees. I followed it only a few feet before the tracks simply stopped, as if whatever had made them had stepped up and vanished into the air. I told my friend nothing, and I still house-sit sometimes, though never again that far out and never during winter. Even now, on certain cold nights when the wind drops low and the world falls quiet, I swear I can hear that same slow breathing outside my own door, patient and familiar, as if it remembers me and knows I haven't forgotten it either. Winter has always been ruthless, but after that night, I realized it hides more than cold and silence. It hides things that watch, things that wait, things that move just out of sight until the world grows still enough to hear them. Maybe what I encountered was a creature, a spirit, or something older than any story we tell to explain the dark. All I know is that some footsteps don't melt with the snow, and some sounds follow you long after the storm is gone. And if you have your own winter horror story, real or almost real, I'd be willing to share one of mine too. Just ask.